So, welcome to another episode of the Healer's Corner. We're going to go over tonight healers healing themselves or struggling to do so, at least in my case at times.
Yeah.
And I think all three of us, we have our own medical issues that are challenges, and working through that and understanding that and writing that fine line between the spiritual and the medical physical. And that being said, never is anything we talk about meant to replace any sort of medical advice from your actual PhD doctors. So, yeah, don't stop anything and just do only what we say by any means, because all three of us have medical doctors.
Don't follow our examples of what works for us as individuals, not necessarily like everybody's things. So,
right.
So,
and I guess before we get into the questions, because Maria, you had some really good questions and was reading through Kayla's answers really in depth. You know, if any of us want to share maybe some of our stuff that we are challenged with that we are still working through, if you guys feel comfortable in doing so, before we get into these more in-depth questions.
Some bits and pieces, maybe not, all of it. So
yeah.
I mean, for me, I am great at clients. I am great at healing clients. But when it comes to myself, I'm going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin. So, yeah, it is a challenge when it comes to ourselves. We know the theory. We know what we need to do. We have so many tools in our toolbox. But I'm going, okay, what am I doing?
Yeah, it's how we perceive things and how we're like channeling things to help people is kind of different than for ourselves. We almost get blocked for ourselves sometimes. Or we'll get information and just kind of like, yeah, but you have all this to take care of, so we'll figure it out for you later. So it just doesn't work the same. Like I could work with either of you, right? Like hands on, hands off, in person or remote, whatever the case is. But then like myself, I'm like, maybe if I like sprain my ankle, I can help myself, but it's not like the big things. It's just not like, that's not how it really works so well. It's like, I can't just lay here and I shouldn't say can't. It just doesn't work as quickly, as smoothly that way. It unfolds in very different ways, which I guess we'll be talking about. So
yeah, I've had a long journey in the scientific medical field from a young age. So, and we might finally be figuring out some things because science has come a long way in 43 years. Slightly aging myself a little bit, especially in the terms of autoimmune stuff. So, and I think this might be something that we can talk about later because it wasn't in our questions of, there's a train of thought where dis-ease starts in the energetic field and it works its way into the body. But I also believe, while that can be true, that the physical body, if you think of it like a machine, is going to have its own parts and problems and things go wrong that have nothing to do necessarily with things you're experiencing, that you're not working through, that you're avoiding, that you stuck in a box in the back and said, I don't want to deal with it. Right. So if it comes off the genetic assembly line with some things not quite right, like that's something that you have to deal with. And at least in my case, sometimes no amount of like the Reiki and the shaman is necessarily healing. And maybe I'm just not doing it right. But we can maybe talk about that at the end, because I feel like it might be a good hot take discussion towards the end.
Yeah.
Could think ourselves better, we would, and nobody would ever be sick, right? So,
yeah. Even though like there's that whole thing where like we choose what we want when we come here, even if we chose certain things, I mean, Earth, we didn't plan on everything that happened here, right? All the exposures, all these chemicals, whether it's vaccines or medicines or toxins, or cleaning chemicals, perfumes, like we didn't necessarily plan for weird things that we're exposed to here, which definitely change things in our physical bodies also. So there's a lot of that. I mean, did your mother drop you on your head when you were a baby? And like, I mean, you didn't really plan for that. Typically, I mean, people aren't like, I want my mom to drop me on my head at 2 weeks old. That's not usually like a life lesson we plan on. So like, I mean, fluke accidents happen here on Earth. It just kind of is. We plan for some of our life lessons, but not every little thing.
Yeah.
Well, to add to that too, I also think that the DNA strands that we have in our bodies, sometimes it might be a trigger. It could be a food, it could be something in the environment, and there might be a trigger also. So it's not necessarily just in the energy field. It could be within the body. You know, in those DNA strands that scientists are still trying to figure out what is, the whole entire, encompass of it and why it's there. So it could be a trigger also that happens.
Definitely.
Finding out the trigger is a trick.
Yeah. Especially before it's too late or almost too late and causing too many other trickle down issues. But yeah.
Well, and that can be really difficult at times, right? Because something that you've been around a million times in your life never set anything off. And then all of a sudden, like it is the camel or the straw that breaks the camel's back because there was something, a few other things, but then here comes that one thing that finally just puts your body in overload and says like, no more, stop it. I'm going to show you through inflammation, arthritis, swelling, high, you name it, however your body is going to bring that to you. But now, how do you find which thing that you have been around a million times before in life that never set you off finally be the thing that now your body is like, enough of that? So
that's the puzzle.
That's what we're here for, right? That's what we do.
Yes. So, friends in the audience, feel free to ask questions or join in the conversation. Is a safe space, to ask. We all three do healing, and we all do it slightly different. And we're going to be honest with you in what we're going through, maybe what we've seen, without giving details of clients that we have worked with. But this whole the healer healing thyself, or at least trying to. And the challenge that comes with that. So
it tends to lead us to find people like us, though, like the three of us and, even our clients. It tends to allow us to relate to people in a way different way than just something we read in a textbook. So I guess that's the better for everybody, not necessarily us, but it's for the better of everybody that we work with.
Yeah. Yeah. So like Maria, the first question you put out there was, what led you as a healer realizing that you needed to be healed? And I kind of was going, ooh, do you mean physically? Because I feel like that can be pretty obvious versus like mentally and spiritually. But I kind of feel like in this topic, we're talking about the most obvious, like it's a lot of the physical, which can lead into spiritual that might be trapped in the body. But Kayla, you had a pretty good response that you answered with. If you would like to share that.
We want to let Maria do her part first, and then I don't know.
Well, for me, it wasn't actually physical because I was in denial. There were things that were happening, but I always like, oh, you know what? I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'll deal with it tomorrow. But when the physical and spiritual and everything came crashing down, I said, okay, I need to deal with this right now. So part of it was when I was growing up, my mom, she didn't even want to acknowledge this part. She didn't want to acknowledge the spiritual part of it. And so I have an example from my parents that, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Well, tomorrow finally came and it all came crashing down. So I really had to take a hard look, and I started off doing meditations, which helped me a lot. I got to pay attention to my breath. I got to get to know my body, even though I still don't know what kind of healing my body needs at times. But it was more so, it wasn't so much physical for me. It was feeling of being stuck. Feeling is, why is this happening? Why am I, once I make a step forward, I just slide back 3 steps. what is going on. So I had to surrender. And as I went into the healing, I started finding stuff about myself and I started realizing about myself. So it was like a journey going through the workshops, going through the different takes of others, healers, who have gone through other journeys before I met them. So it was really something that I was like, okay, I need to really look into this and see who am I as a vessel, as a spirit, and that's how it started off. But as I was going through the healing, I ended up accidentally awakening my Kundalini really too quick. So I went through a healing syndrome, a Kundalini, syndrome, while my whole entire body itched. It just completely itched, and I have gone through every single over the counter. And I did not want to see a dermatologist because I didn't want to go on steroids. I did not want to do that. That was my choice. That wasn't a way that I wanted to do it. So I really started looking into, other things, other vessels, essential oils, herbs, everything like that. But and then I had to also go within, and I had to get to know my body all over again, be introduced to my body, and pay attention to the signals that what it was giving me, and then eventually it started to clear. So that's how I started in this journey.
It's like a never-ending journey, honestly. It's just like every time you think you get to like a certain level of things, there's like a whole other part, and it's all connected. There is not like a just heal yourself all at once. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's something that's a pretty curable disease or condition, you're still going to have the emotional, mental, spiritual follow-up to that. And if you don't address those things, it trickles back down into it can become mental health issues, emotional issues. It can transfer into your relationships. It can affect your work. Like it all just overlaps. No matter what you do, it overlaps with everything else in your life. And like one of the things that, not just for medical issues, but just in general in our lives, when we don't pay attention, it does tend to lead to medical issues for people. Everything ties together. You have to like find what pieces connect to what, and just you can't really skip any parts of it. And like things will kind of like if you're not addressing certain parts of it, it sets you back. And they call that like spirit breaking the legs, basically, right? Like you're not following your path, you're not listening, and you keep putting it off, and then it just gets worse and worse. And then it's like, okay, now it's not just headaches. Now it's, oh, hey, my car stopped working. Oh, why do I have less money in my bank account than I should? Why do like these things start happening that just trickle down until you stop what you're doing and start to address everything else that's going on. It literally just breaks your spiritual energetic legs where you can't move forward anymore. You are now officially forced to have to take care of yourself. And sometimes it does involve drawing the boundary of not taking care of clients for a little bit, right? Which is really hard for us. But sometimes it really does mean saying, hey, I am having a week or two off and I'm booking people when I come back. And you just kind of have to do that to keep ourselves functioning, to take care of everybody else around us and ourselves, because they can be a lot of work. Ourselves. We are a lot of work.
Right. Well, and I think the fact that we are always aware of spiritual on top of it, like not only are we like, okay, doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment, it's also like going down the rabbit holes on the spiritual side, on the woo woo side and investigating that. So it's like while going through the medical doctors and going, yeah, 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 but also going, so why am I not responding to this? Is it because you've misdiagnosed or is it because this over here keeps, aggravating over here, which is it? And that can be overwhelming at times. Um, to where it can be almost to where you just want to sit back and go, fine, whatever, like I don't know where to go with it. It's overwhelming. Nothing I'm doing, be it over here or over here, is working, and just like, fine. And I'll do that at times. Like I'll just let the dust settle and kind of sit back and go, all right, what's left? And, kind of see what's there. And, at times it can help.
I mean, it can be things like wrong relationships, living with the wrong person, even if it's somebody in your family. Like, it doesn't always have to be an exposure, like a chemical or a food or something environmental. It can definitely be like you're in the wrong job, you're living in the wrong town, and the reality is, as humans, those things aren't always as easy to get rid of and bring something new in or make those changes happen. Like, that's just reality. Like, everything involves money, right? You can't always just up and leave to go to a whole other state or country, whatever you want to do. So there's like a lot that ties into it, even if the signs are all there, like, oh, you should no longer be in this relationship. Okay, well, you can't get rid of, I mean, you can, but that would be a different podcast, and there are podcasts for murder mystery things. Um, so um, so like sometimes you have to find the ways that you best can work around. You kind of have to negotiate with the universe and with spirit and be like, okay, here's my situation. Like, I understand what you're telling me to do, but this is like, I have A, B, and C to work with. So how can you help me resolve this situation, whether it's job or relationship, where you're living? Like, okay, I'm acknowledging this problem. I acknowledge this now tied to my medical issues, and I'm getting worse because of these things. So how can you help me to reconcile everything else so that I can move forward with the medical part, and then see what's really medical and what was energetically affecting you medically.
Hmm. Well, and I think it's that whole adage, right? You can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
So how
Mhm.
effective can you be, helping and healing other people when you are running on empty yourself? And Maria has
Yeah.
called me out in person, Minnie. She's like, "You have no energy." She's like, "You are depleted. Why are you?" And I'm like, "Because I have to." Like, the store has things it needs me to do. I, as a parent, have things that I like. That option of just being able to close the doors and be like, "I'm done. Leave me alone for like 3 or 4 days." Like you said, Kayla, you
Right.
can't always do that, right? So, um,
Well,
but
it's
also
funny. People are so
thinking,
easy to say, just take time off, just leave it, just don't take care of it. It's like, it doesn't work that way. There's times you can, like, and not even to that extent, but it just doesn't work that way. Like, I just took a trip and I was like, I'm not going to answer my phone for 4 days. You want to know how that went?
yeah,
I didn't answer my phone, so then it was my email, and then it was Messenger. I'm like, fine, I'm just going to turn off social media. I'm going to like sign out my emails. It won't be a problem. And it didn't work, and I was thinking people were going to start sending helicopters for me. It's like, this is ridiculous. I just need like me time.
yeah.
Like, I clean out this section for me, and yeah,
And,
it's
and
just
also that saying, if you don't take time to rest, you'll be made to.
mhm.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
when you're overworking, you're pushing your body to the limit, be it, any, physical illness you have, or even like overstress and everything else, your body's going to crash at some point if you don't figure out how to take that downtime. And some of us are hard learners and we do this over and over again. But
Yeah. It's very take my advice, I'm not using it type work is
right.
what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Maria, I believe your question was, how did you know as a healer that you needed to be healed? And Kayla, because I know Maria, I think you've answered that. We got on little tangents, but Kayla, did you give your answer specifically for that?
Not really. So I kind of, before I even came into this world, was basically told I was going to be a mess. While my mom was pregnant with me, she was told that I was here to heal the people. We lived next door to a Native American woman for several years, and she used to tell my mom regularly that I was here to heal the people, but I was willing to suffer tremendously to do it through my life, and I have. It's been messy. There's been a lot of trial and error. There's been a lot of, I've been a guinea pig, to put it nicely. So there's been a lot of, as have you guys. So that was part of my, she herself was a healer. So she knew I was coming here with a purpose, but it was going to be a rough ride for me to be able to help other people. And it definitely has been, but it's also been, from the outside, it looks horrible. I guess the inside, it doesn't feel so great, but it's also been a really cool experience for the fact that I've been able to relate to people on a whole different level than just telling them, oh, I'm picking up this, because I've probably been through too much of it. Um, so it's just, I mean, it's definitely been worth it. I could do with less lessons. Thank you, if you're listening, universe. I feel like I served my time. I feel like my sentence should be up in this human body, and I should either, be done with all the medical stuff, that kind of thing. But it's been a long road, but in the last year, I had quite a few surgeries, as you guys know, and some really long recoveries, still long recoveries ahead of me. And it's been kind of cool how it went from nothing could help me, nobody could help me, there was no relief at all, to like all of a sudden 4 major surgeries in 1 year's time to now have to recover from. That put me substantially ahead of where I was. And that's kind of like, I guess, my win in the healing journey so far. Like there is the energy healing part, but there's the sticking with your doctors or finding new doctors, the right doctors. And basically by following the paths that I was guided to, I blocked out all the spiritual stuff, all the energetic healing work for a long time. I tried to block out talking with spirits and all that stuff, which actually always made me sicker when I would try to block those things out. Tried to do all the doctor stuff, went completely holistic, quit everything that I was doing. Culture, quit every medicine, every treatment, everything, and just went completely holistic, and it helped quite a bit. But then the pages started churning again, and it led me back to new medical people. I left all the other practices, and I ended up finding, about 8 years later, finding a whole bunch of new people, and they all hit this whole different network, and it's been a huge help. So it kind of all works together, because without the energy healing and clearing work, not just for the physical ailments, but for the relationships, for my personal things, for past lives, without all that energy healing work, it still wouldn't have manifested the physical, medical doctor work that it's led to. So it's really kind of cool how it's unfolded. Hindsight, it wasn't so fun getting to this point by any stretch, but it's been really cool now that I can look back at it and be like, okay, I see how this all worked and why I had to do it. And I'm really blessed that, well, we all are really blessed that our not so fun journeys have really let us help a lot of people all around the world. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
We're not home moping about it. We're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
No, and that's, I don't know about you ladies, but there's been a few newer medical professionals that I've met, one being a geneticist, and they always comment of how, I'm usually in a good mood, and I can make jokes about my situation, what I've gone through, and they're like, it's amazing that you can be, just upbeat about it. And I'm like, well, sitting and being miserable doesn't change it. It doesn't, make it go away. And I'm like, now I would just feel worse while going through it.
Right.
I find the sarcastic humor about what the physical body keeps insisting on doing, just being a way to kind of like work through it and be like, okay, well, we're doing this now. Great. Okay. Um, Fun times. It's just honestly, at least for me, sitting and being miserable just doesn't
Well,
help.
and you're putting that energy out there, right? So then you start drawing in negative people and miserable people, whether it's your personal life, your work. Like
Mm-hmm.
being in that space doesn't help anything at all. We all have our moments. Like you can have your pouty little moments. That's only natural and human, but it really doesn't help to project that energy out there at all.
Yeah. Maria, do you remember exactly how Zane said, it was really profound, and I know I've got it written down, that it's like there are illnesses that are unavoidable, but the suffering is a choice. So, and
Oh, I don't even
you don't
remember
remember
that.
that? Like that
It's very,
was
very
like
true, for sure.
the aha moment for that whole weekend, was just
Uh-huh.
that statement. And I'm like, that's true, right? Because in my case, funky, weird, misguided, glitching, physical systems here. It's my choice if I want to sit and be miserable about it, or find humor and decide to treat, this physical body the best it can. I joke and I'm like, well, I was having to use high mileage oil way back younger, and operate a little differently because that is the vehicle I'm driving right now. So, it's my choice to sit and pout about it, to be upset about it, to be miserable, and I choose not to. Is I put out that negative right now. That is that disease, I feel, that some will say, and I know Maria, you're of that mindset, that it's like that negative starts coming in and then it starts lodging in
Mm-hmm.
the body. So it's like, why add
Mm-hmm.
that to the things that I have to deal with by creating my own problem? But I'll have to look that up, and maybe I'll put it in show notes when I can find it. But it was very much, there are illnesses that we cannot avoid, that we're given, but it's whether or not you choose to suffer. So,
I think when, and I don't know if you ladies can agree to this. I think when we went into the healing journey and understanding the mindset, I think that was the biggest tool, because like you said, Melissa, like what Zane said, you can choose to suffer through it. You can choose to struggle with it. I think that was the biggest thing for me, because regardless of what my body is doing, I said, you know what, I will take care of you, but I am not going to embrace the negative part of it. I'm not going to wallow into all the pain and the inflammation and everything else going. I will take care of you, And I think for me, it was actually with Silva, when I started in that journey, that I understood how the mindset, you have a choice. You always have a choice. You may not know how to fix it or know exactly which tool to use, but you have a choice of having that mindset.
And I like to think that me being able to joke about what's wrong helps the doctor, right? Because I'm sure they're just in miserableness all day from other
Yeah.
people not feeling good, and just coming in and dumping that, and to have like that one patient that can come in and be like, "Ha ha, guess what's wrong today?"
Right.
Makes their day a little better for however long we're in the room, and I don't mind being that person. Um,
I was actually told that when I was in the hospital for one of my recoveries. Like the lady, one of the nurses, she came in and she's like, I just want to sit here for 10 minutes because I only feel good in your room. She's like, I don't know why. I didn't say anything to her. And she's just like, I just want to sit in here because I feel so good every time I pop in here. And do you care if I sit here? I just kind of invited myself. I'm like, no, I have at it. I was like all drugged up, right? Like bring it why don't you run that? Well, thanks. But she was just like, this is just, she's like, I just need this. Like, I can just feel my whole body relaxing. I just feel so much happier when I go back out into the hall. I'm like, oh, feel free to hang out whenever you want to. I'll be here for a few days. So, whatever.
Come on and bring a deck of cards next time. We'll play some
That's
games.
right. And bring me some chocolate. Like, come on. So, I mean, it's definitely helps too. Or like when I had the near death experience last year, right? I was like, that's okay. This is not how I die. And the doctor's like, emergency room. He's like, you don't get to choose it. I'm like, yeah, I do. And my friend's like chuckling. She's like sitting there and she's like, oh, yeah. I mean, she kind of knows. And the doctor was just like, so like, just, he was like beside himself and he's just like, his eyes were like huge. He's just like, you don't get to decide that. I'm like,
Now, Maria, you had the question about how challenging was it to prioritize your own healing while you're, trying to help others. And I think we kind of cover that a little bit. Like it can
Hmm.
be challenging. And I think the hardest part, at least for me, is setting that boundary and like no means no. And I'll get to you, you know,
yeah.
in a minute,
Yeah.
Still working on that. Admittedly, still working on that. My major
Yeah.
surgery made me better at that because, I mean, for those that don't know, like I had a really major spine surgery in my thoracic spine, which affected how I could move my arms and everything. So it wasn't even like I didn't even want to set up to do remote work because I was kind of in my own world for a little bit there. And that was an issue I've had since I was a little kid. And I was like, no, I waited 25 years for this. I can definitely make people wait. Like what they have going on can wait what I've waited 25 years for. Like, like I deserve to have this time. It didn't take me long to go back to like bending over backwards for people. And that's something that was part of my like the experience I was talking about at the very beginning of this, like how I had this whole spiritual experience and it's not just my health part, but some other things. And in a sense, it is tied to my health because it's that boundary of what I'm doing and what I'm not doing for people right now.
Hmm.
I try to make time for everybody. And it's hard when you work with people in different time zones, different countries, that kind of thing. It makes it really hard because you're trying to figure out how you can live your life here and do things on their schedule and your schedule and your personal life. And it just makes it like kind of complicated. But that's been a big part of my journey is not, the free time. Like my time is worth something, my energy is worth something, my health is worth something. And for those that can't appreciate that, they can go back to the end of the line for right now. And I can work with people that do appreciate it, do respect it, and, take care of myself in the process.
Now, Maria, have you had a hard time being able to tell people no and like keeping that boundary in place?
No, because in the very beginning, I already made a choice that if I can't do the healing, I am going to, postpone it on another day. And it's easier when you do distant because, when I look at it, I was like, you know what? I can't do this until next week. I need time for myself. I need time to get myself together. Um, so that was a choice that I made. I really made the boundary with the physical. I did not know I can make the boundary with the spirit. That's something else that I learned later on because I will get bombarded during the night. It could be a healing on someone, or I was like, I go, you know what? I'm sleeping right now. So that person can wait.
Yeah.
Like, how effective can you be if you're overtired and, not then thinking clearly because you're tired and,
Mhm.
Well, that's the thing. Like sometimes people can get kind of pushy about it, right? And I understand everybody's issues are important, or like they affect something that one person doesn't think is a big deal is like a catastrophic deal to somebody else, right? I get that. But people need to remember we're also still kind of people. We have our own healing things to do for ourselves. We have our own houses, our own families, we try to have friends. That really gets put on the back burner, right? Like that, like it gets so far put on the back burner when you do what we do. This is probably about as close as the three of us has been. Well, I mean, I came there, but a couple months ago. But yeah, like you don't get to see each other like people think we do. Like we're not all together in covenant all the time or something. Like we're kind of doing our own thing, helping people, having our own things going on, and it's nice to feel respected from people when you want to help them.
Yeah.
Now, have either one of you experienced denial if you're like you couldn't help others while you were struggling yourself?
I don't know that I really had a choice. Like, so sometimes it seems like the more I try to block spirit off for those things to not make me help others, it's almost like they put it into overdrive. So trying to find
Yeah.
that balance of like where they listen to me and not be like, but just push through it. You've got this because you can help other people. It's like,
Mhm. 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 Yeah. Just in the beginning, I did struggle with that because I feel like so and so is coming here, or spirit's alerting me to something, and I know I'm not in my 100%. So I kind of struggle with the guilt of that, of
yeah,
saying no, I can't do it, you know, or can I do it in next week, or in 2 weeks from now. I did struggle with the denial and the guilt of saying no.
right. Like recently, I
Yeah.
started telling people because people thought I was probably just because it's summertime, like blowing them off. Because I've had, again, I have a lot of follow up appointments because of all the surgeries, right, and physical therapy, all these things that I have to arrange and negotiate around everybody else's schedules too. And so that was one of
Mhm.
my big things, really, like the last month was like, nope, I have my own personal appointments. No, I can't squeeze you in because I have my personal appointments that I have to drive to. That, and especially when you go to specialists in certain therapies, you don't know how long you're going to be there. You could be there like the whole freaking
Mhm.
day. So it's like it's not fair to me or to the client to schedule things. And then I'm sitting there feeling pressured. I'm not getting what I need to be getting out of the appointment because I'm like, oh my God, I've got 10 minutes to make a half an hour drive before this person's there, or whether you have an online appointment, whatever the case is. So I've actually started being open with people of like, no, I actually have my own personal medical appointments that I need to follow through with. Majority of people have been respectful of that, but when I was just saying, I'm sorry, I can't work with you this day, or I have to reschedule your appointment for next week, people weren't handling that so well. So
Mhm.
that little bit of honesty, even though I would really honest as a person, I would really like to have more privacy with my things. And I feel like we also deserve that a little bit of privacy for things. But sometimes it's really just too hard. I think people forget we are humans and have these things going on, like I said before. So I have started being more open and transparent about those things as much as I don't want to. Again, one of my lessons, right? I never even talked about my medical issues till I started doing this stuff publicly. So I started doing healing work publicly. And then it's like, oh, well, how come you can't heal yourself and you have all these medical issues, but you can do this, this, and this, and you can help people with the same issues? It's like, well, yeah, that's hello, welcome to my story. Well, our story, right?
How do you choose to integrate or not integrate traditional like medical medicine?
I always had the mindset that this is completely separate from traditional medicine. it is not a replacement, and I make sure my clients knows that this is not a replacement. If you have prescription, if you have a primary doctor, please continue listening to them. This is just an added on. So I don't even touch that. I don't even go there. I don't even suggest. If they ask, oh, well, if I do this tea I say, well, if I go try it, I don't say go ahead and do it. I don't say, yeah, that would be a good thing. I don't even in- I don't even go that path.
But what about for you personally? How do you decide for you your spiritual versus,
Oh,
and like I
oh,
know how you said earlier that you didn't want to go into the steroids for the itching.
yeah. Um, I try to do the spiritual work first on myself, even though I don't know what my body needs. And then I'm actually calling my doctor the next day. And I said, can I go, when's the next appointment? Because this is what's going on with me. And I cannot understand what's going on with me. I do try to do the spiritual work on myself first because, hey, I went to all these teachers and all these classes. Something has to stick. But I do I do call the doctor and I do talk to the nurse.
I'm a little bit more stubborn by my own personal choice and my own hard lessons. I've had, um, to put it, I don't know. There's not really a nice way to put it. I've been basically killed 3 times by medical oops things. So I tend to be a bit more stubborn on what I'm willing to go through with. I started working with a holistic practitioner myself probably about 11, 12 years ago now. She's also the one that pushed me into doing what I do publicly because I didn't want to acknowledge it. And she's like, yeah, you're also not going to heal until you start helping other people. And I've been told that like way too many times, but I listened to her. Um, so, I learned a lot from her and like learned how to be attuned with my own body. I paid attention a lot to what certain foods bother me. Like a lot of healthy foods that should have been healthy that I was eating a lot of were actually making me sicker because things like certain high oxalate foods were causing issues and causing me to go into kidney failure. Um, so there's like certain things that I was like, oh, if I eat this, I know this is causing this issue for me. And if I do this, and so now it's become kind of like a second nature where I can actually start to hold things like intuitive eating. Um, so like I've gotten to the point where I can like hold a supplement or hold a food and be like, yeah, I probably should eat that today. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely times I'm like I pick up pizza or like chicken wings and I'm like, I'm from Buffalo, so real chicken wings. And like I should not eat this today. I'm gonna pay for it, but sometimes it's so worth it and it doesn't matter. Um, I'll fix it later. So it's just kind of a matter of really trusting yourself. I think figuring out if you're more comfortable. I have plenty of clients who are way more comfortable with traditional medicine things, and they come to me to kind of balance out like. So I do a lot of muscle testing for things. So like, is this more beneficial for me? Is this more beneficial for me? Should I work with this doctor? Should I work with this doctor? So they kind of ask me like what route to take for their own things. If they ask me about supplements and things, I obviously get the same disclaimer. I can't prescribe, diagnose, that kind of stuff. I'm not replacing anything, but I will like muscle test for them, like what things are beneficial, just like I would do for myself. And then it's up to them to figure it out. And there's times like I'm a big advocate of what's on a bottle doesn't mean it's meant for you, whether it's a prescription or a supplement, things like that. Just because it says take 2 a day doesn't mean your body's going to need 2 a day. It doesn't mean it's going to need it every day. So I think finding your own body, that was my biggest thing, was learning my own body, what foods bother me, what chemicals will bother me, just all different things like that, and just figuring out what pieces are what. And now I can tell like, oh, I want something there was like too much mold and I can tell that's why I feel this, or I have this going on. Like there's a lot of things that are like pre-anaphylactic reactions, like getting blisters inside your mouth. Diarrhea can be one. There's like a few things that are like pre-anaphylactic reactions that people get that they're not really aware of. And that causes all extra inflammation in your body. So if you learn to start paying attention to these other symptoms, like, oh, these aren't actually canker sores, I'm not sick, these are food reactions, stop eating what is causing those things. So it really has taken me over a decade to reattune myself to my body. And that still changes. It really does, because you get exposed to one thing and then it can trigger something else, like we were talking about earlier. So I think you need to be your biggest advocate, no matter what, whether it's with energy healing or medical practice. You need to be, if you know you had a reaction to a medication, For me, that's gabapentin. There's no way, come hell or high water, you're putting me in gabapentin. It's just not going to happen. So I think it's important to trust yourself and stand up for yourself in those situations, because putting yourself back into that situation, you're allowing that bad energy back in, and kind of like giving it the universe or the doctor, whatever, permission to be like, oh, you can do this to me again, even though I know it's bad, which is not a good sign to put out there. And two, you're just setting yourself back. Nobody else is suffering from that except for you.
Yeah, I've also voiced out to my doctors too. When they prescribe something, I go, don't even bother, because I'm not gonna do it. I understand that, but see, the way I see it is like, okay, I'm not a number to you. This is what I'm telling you, but you
Right.
are not completely comprehending what I'm telling you. So it comes down to you have to just take your initiative, and like Kayla said, listen to your body. So I have told my doctors before, don't even bother prescribing that. Don't even shoot it off to the pharmacy. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to go and get it. I'm not going to do it.
There's a point of too, like, there's a difference between shopping for doctors and you just keep going to one after another, to like finding one that hears you and understands you. Just because your friend absolutely loves their primary care or the rheumatologist or endocrinologist doesn't mean that they're going to be the ideal fit for you either. So it's okay to try somebody and be like, oh, we don't have a good fit, or they don't understand my specific situation or what I'm trying to get out of this appointment. It's okay to acknowledge that and look for somebody else to, help you through your specific needs.
And I think that's part of something in this healing journey for anybody that's got like hard to diagnose or just wonky things. Like, you start to feel crazy after a while. That you almost start gaslighting yourself that maybe you don't feel as bad as you think you do, and you
Right.
keep pushing, and then it kind of makes things worse because you're not letting your body rest. You're pushing
And
through
people
the
look at your age too. They're like, "There's no way you have all this wrong. You're so young and blah blah." It's like, yeah, maybe it might show.
tell that to all of this. Why don't
Right.
you? And so it kind of becomes a challenge of not overthinking yourself, and really realizing that yes, you are experiencing what you're experiencing, and still doing that journey of banging on those doors and trying to find that one that's willing to listen and go outside the box and go, yeah, you're right, and you know what, let's try this, and let's test this, and see what we can find. And that's where I am a fan of traditional medicine, up to a degree. Like, they need to be competent, they need to listen, they need to actually be able to prove to me why they're suggesting what they're suggesting. You're not just going to throw random meds at me in guinea pig, right? That happened when I was little, when back in the early 80s, they didn't understand things like they do now. And so they were just throwing everything at the wall trying to keep me alive. I get why they did it, but we're not going back. We're not doing that again.
Right. That's why I've left a few of my doctors the last few years, is because it's like I'm not going backwards. Even one of them that actually originally sent me for the muscle biopsy, he was great then, but then he became like overworked because he's like one of the only people around that does what he does. And I went back to him like, holy crap, you're not anything at all like when I first met you and did these things. I was just like, I just don't want that. You're going to literally take me 10 years backwards in my journey, and I'm not doing that. Are things great? No, but I'm not going 10 years backwards. That's not happening. I'm not going back to bed rest and not being able to feed myself. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is, like, it's really sad how often doctors, whether it's primary care or if they send you to psychiatrists, that kind of stuff, just even rheumatologists will do it, pain management, they'll put people on antidepressants and antipsychotic medicines because, like, oh, you're not depressed enough, so let's put you on antidepressant. Like, that makes sense. You're not depressed enough, so we'll put you on antidepressant medications. Or, oh, the pain is just coming because you're depressed or you have anxiety or these kind of things. Okay, but even those things are caused by another underlying root cause for people. So putting them on medicines that are blocking off those neurotransmitters and the neurons and nerve receptors in the body is not figuring out what's going on. You're covering it up until the body gets used to those medications. And then you have a whole nother level of problems or addictions and all sorts of things. So it's kind of sad that they very often try to cover things up with other medications before even bothering to look at, or just use the textbook blanket example of, well, you're in pain, so you have depression from, or you have pain from the depression, you have pain from the anxiety, without actually wondering what's going on with the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's There's a lot of blanket statements and diagnoses and reasonings, and I'm sure all 3 of us have heard it because we're women, that
Yeah.
it's, "You need to lose weight, you need to drink water, it's just your menstrual cycle," and you're just anxious,
I mean, they
and
told me that that was just my problem until it almost killed me last year, right? And I'm like, oh shit, she has a problem. She just like she's kind of dead over here. It was like, oh, now you want to listen to me? Thanks. Like,
yeah,
it's
and
kind of, it feels like the parachute things we had in gym class as kids, like those big like parachute things you play with, and everybody'd run under it. Like that's what it's like having medical like these like crazy medical things that they don't know. It's like they just throw you into this big huge parachute, and they're just like, "Yep, we're just gonna put you under here and throw a bunch of stuff at you and hope for the best." And then we'll just kind of like tuck you in here.
it really, really pays off, even though it's tiring to be your own squeaky wheel and keep
Mhm.
banging on the doors and not being afraid of trying a different doctor. Um,
Mhm.
and if you're lucky enough when you find that good primary, because depending on insurances, right, you have to have referrals, some you don't. Uh,
Mhm.
and that's my case. I have a really good primary nurse. It's the nurse. I don't like the doctor. I only deal with the nurse. And she is the one who, like, even at one point, she's like, "Are you willing to try a different hospital system and see what they say?" Because she's getting frustrated with her own system that she's in, right? And
Like
I'm
I've
like,
only been trying to do that for how many years, right? That's like, that's
you
exactly
know,
what
and I'm like, absolutely. And and kind of in the if you want to consider it traditional, I really think if you're able to get like genetic testing done to help understand what your body's doing and maybe what you have like on this plate that you were dealt with that maybe you didn't realize in the beginning. And now as you're getting older and the body starts, doing certain things, you're like, oh,
yeah.
now I'm noticing. They were like, oh, really? Doing this all this time? I myself very hypermobile in so many different ways. And I was just joking about this with Calavera, who is a personal trainer on the side. And I'm like, here, I thought I just had really good range of motion and I just worked out really well. She's like, yeah, but you're not supposed to move like that. Your shoulders aren't supposed to do that. Your hip isn't supposed to do that. Your wrists aren't supposed to do that. Your knees aren't. And I'm like, huh, so how much of that is my joint pain? If is that
Right.
why you can't catch that in the blood work? Is that why you can't catch it here? Is that why this medicine you keep putting me on doesn't work? Because you're refusing to when I've gone into multiple doctors and go, "Hey, we got some hypermobile stuff." And they just go, "Yeah." So about that, they won't listen. And that's where
Mhm.
And they
really
all those things tie together. And some of the things, if you would have had addressed by somebody 10, 20, 30 years ago, would have made a big difference going forward, wouldn't have caused the permanent damage that it causes. But back
right.
to the genetic testing part, like they do genetic testing for what like certain medications that people can't take. There's like a whole long
Yeah.
panel of that. And that really makes a big difference too, because when they're telling you that a medicine should be working or should be doing a certain thing and you're having opposite effects or no effects, like there's a really strong chance you might have a genetic mutation that is not really common, but it's making you not able to use certain types of medications, whether it's certain categories or a certain specific one. Even things like marijuana, there's genes that some people can handle it. There's other people that become severely addicted to it. There's other people that causes actual psychosis issues. There's different genes that people can have, and it can be siblings that one could do just fine with it, and the other one can go into complete schizophrenic paranoia issues. So there's just different types of genetic things for different people, and this, I mean, don't let people tell you're not an individual, not just as a person, but medically also. Like it's just everything is so individual with people.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's where it's like I really believe that if you have a good understanding, even if the doctors aren't listening, but if you are aware of what your physical body is going through, how it's feeling, how it's functioning, and if you are able to get the genetic to kind of help understand what that is, it's kind of like now you know what you're working with, and then the spiritual stuff helps with helps make it drive better, helps understand it better, helps make sure nothing else gets added on to what's already there.
It can help clear the path to find the right things for you. Clear out the
Yeah.
old and allow room for the new things to come in.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, again, good sample, psoriasis, right? How many people do you know that keeps getting squamous cell skin carcinoma on the palm of the hand? And both of you are probably going to be like, just one, and that would be me. And all these years, the doctors are like, we don't know why that keeps happening. And I go down my own rabbit hole and then later find out when you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, you are prone to skin cancers there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you guys would have listened and back then maybe put me on a biologic for it rather than tell me to drink water and put lotion on, never would have had to deal with that, right? So there's the mechanical issue of the body. Now, separately, maybe about 10 years ago, almost had to have a hysterectomy because they were like, hey, you're pretty much like you are so severe dysplasia, you're pretty much cervical cancer and are you okay? And I'm like, hell yeah, take it out. Like no more babies, let's go. Let's take this out. And went through multiple leaps and everything else just to make sure. But at the same time, I was really kind of like, where did that come from? Like that doesn't really necessarily run through the family. What is this? And being reminded out of nowhere, like literally brushing my teeth of a bully from like 3rd grade and dealing with that bully and then the bully from the teacher because the teacher would believe him over me and like would refuse to let me to go to gifted and talented class because somebody who looked like me clearly did not belong in the gifted and talented program. So dealing with that in a short amount of time and those emotions that came up and started to finally process those, even though I have forgotten about it, because, I mentally stuck that in a box and was like, we're done with that. We don't need to go over it. And I came up with the mantra of I forgive, I release, it is no longer mine. And
Mhm.
anytime I had a quiet moment and would think about that, I would just repeat that and repeat that and repeat that and went in for that final like scope before scheduling the hysterectomy and go in for those results. And I hear the doctor go, are you sure? And she comes in and she's like, good news, kiddo. She's like, you're clear. There's nothing.
Mhm.
Are we talking about the same me? she's like, she's like, yeah. And I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure? And she's like, yeah.
It happens. Yeah.
So that's where, like, for me, the difference is kind of like what you're born with and those challenges that you come in on this playing field with from the
Mhm.
genetic, line, here you go, versus what can become in, something that happened out here that you start storing.
The big thing
Right.
with with energy healing work is you have nothing to lose with it. The worst it's going to do
Yeah.
is help for things like that. Like, I mean, it's not going to interfere with what's meant for you. Period.
Mhm. Yeah. So, and I mean, heck, energy work, it's free. There's no copay. You have no deductible. If you know how to do it for yourself, right? Otherwise, you pay to go
Well,
see
the
like,
self hypnosis is a big thing. Like you said, you hit that mantra every day, and that's a form of self hypnosis of saying those things.
Yeah.
Like every day, every
Yeah.
way I am, including those things, or you're tuning yourself to your highest genetic, DNA structure, that kind of thing. Like doing those things every day really do make
Mhm.
a big difference for people.
mhm. So that's where it's like how I explained for me the difference of like what you're born with versus that dis-ease that works into the body, you
Mhm.
know. Because for me, both are true, both are real things that can happen. And that's where it's like traditional medicine versus just, the spiritual work on top of it. Both are valid. And so I feel like I walk like the middle, like I am willing to use and learn on both sides. Um, because I'm comfortable doing it. Um, and I think you both are too from what we've talked
Yeah.
about tonight.
Yeah.
How did a patient or being a patient yourself deepen your empathy for your clients?
Oh, I can answer that. Listening to my clients. I listen to my clients. Although I do scan a client when I step into the energy field. If it's a distant, I'll step into the energy field, and I will allow spirit to give me messages that I need to know what is going to be the best for this client. But if it's in person, and I do listen to them, because being the fact that I, as a patient going out in the medical field, dealing with these doctors who are not listening to me, I think that is very important to listen to the client. To
Right.
listen, I mean, there might be other things that I might find when I'm scanning them as I'm listening to them, but I listen to what they need to tell me.
Mhm.
Right. And sometimes the things that sometimes they say they don't know what's going on with themselves, but sometimes we pick up other things that are tied to it. Like, they'll be talking about a certain pain that's not going to be aware, all the treatments they have gone through, and or certain scarring that they have, things like that. And like, we'll pick up, oh, maybe this is tied to a past life, maybe this is tied to something else. And maybe it's not just the here and now that are affecting these things. So it is good to let them talk about all those things. And the other thing I'm a big fan of is letting people talk about all that before the healing, because otherwise they're laying there the whole time when they're supposed to be enjoying the healing, thinking about, is she going to work on this? Does she know about this? Is she going to pick up this? And their minds just keep going if you don't address it ahead of time. So it is good to let them vent about it all. And I think people really overlook people that haven't had energy healings or aren't familiar with it. It's almost kind of like counseling also. There's like a big part of it. It's like we discuss things on a whole deeper level that probably counselors aren't addressing, because we're tapping into the energetic aspects of it too. And who else might be tied to it and those kind of things. Like you were saying with the bully, right? Like if you go talk to somebody about that, they're probably not going to pick up all the energetic ties to that whole situation. So that's one of the really cool things about energy healing, is just connecting it to other places if it needs to be connected to other places and times and people and that kind of thing. Not just yourself at the here and now.
Well, and I think as I'm going through more things, like I can understand now if a client comes in and they're like, look, like the fatigue is no joke. I
Right.
have an understanding what that fatigue is now. Whereas before, like I thought I knew, and I'm like, oh, you just didn't sleep well last night. Like, no.
There's a
Now
difference. There's a big difference between
know,
fatigue and fatigue.
yeah, like under being able to understand more clearly what they're saying. And then, also going, you thought you understood it before, but you didn't. So now listen more closely when they're describing something that you haven't gone through yet, because I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe I don't want to go through it so I can understand it, you know, like, okay,
That's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, I will take in the people and their experiences. I do not need any more of these experiences in my personal physical body, my energetic field. I don't need any more of it. I will gladly learn about it, read about it, watch it. I still gladly help people with it. I just do not want to experience it personally, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually in myself. Period. Like, it just,
Yeah.
I've done my time. I think I should be free like
Yeah. So that's where, I'm like, oh, as I'm starting to experience it, this type of stuff. And I'm like, okay, don't assume I know, because I don't, and I don't
there's
want to have
always
to learn
more.
that.
There's just always more. It's like an infomercial, but wait, there's more.
Yeah.
What?
And it feels like spirit is behind me going, oh, you think you do? Just hold my beer.
Exactly.
Let me show you something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see. How much of your healing was emotional, mental, or spiritual? I mean, I feel like we've kind of almost answered that in the
A few
talk,
Yeah.
times.
but
Yeah.
It's all tied. It's all tied in. It's all tied in. There are some practitioners who are actually very proficient with the emotional. There's some are very proficient with the physical, but in the way I see it, it all ties in. It's all connected.
I think it's really good to have a team that like, so my personal team that I work with, I have an allergy alternative person who's like literally my lifesaver. And I have a couple chiropractors. I have a chiropractor who works with just activators, and he does like amazing head to toe work, and there's some energy work involved with that, but not like we do kind of work. It's very different. More of like a kinesiology type energy. I have somebody that does craniosacral because it helps your actual spinal fluid. So like, it's okay to have different people that have, like, I have a lymphatic therapist. It's okay to have these different people for different things and find a good team that works together, and not have people that are going to get mad because you go to somebody else for a certain thing. It's really important to have people that are just like, oh yeah, that would be good for you to go do that. You should follow up with that person, or go for your massage therapist. I have a couple of great massage therapists. One does more stretching, which I cannot do yet. So I've been working with the other massage therapist who can treat me like a normal person, but she likes to beat me up, and which is what I need. It's okay to have a whole team of people, but make sure they work well together and they're not pulling you like a kid back and forth, like tug of war type thing, being like, nope, you can't go to that person. If you're working with me, you can't do this. It shouldn't be that way.
Mhm.
It should be
Mhm.
about what works for your body at that point in time. Whether you see them once a month, once a week, or once a year, or every 5 years, whatever the case is, it shouldn't matter. There should be no ego, and that's where ego comes into play with some of these people, right? Um, there should be no ego in that, and I'm telling you what's better for you. If you know something's helping you, that's up to you to go do that. And I would say if somebody's discouraging you from doing something like that, then you kind of need to reconsider what you have
Mhm.
going.
Mhm.
Yeah, I so much of how I got here is a little bit of all of the above, right? So, I was kind of forced into the traditional medicine as a kid because I lived in a hospital from 2 to 7,
Yeah.
couldn't be out in the public, would have died. Um, but then, coming out, and it's funny because people were like, "How did you get into this woo-woo stuff?" And I'm like, I have just always had this innate like interest and just being drawn to it. Like
We didn't have a choice. We got
always wanted to know and understand and learn about all the different ways of all the different things. And, and then as I got older to realize, oh, I can learn how to do it. Like that's cool, and understanding the mind and being self-aware and being willing to do that hard work on yourself and kind of call your own self out on it to really get that healing going. And I can't say which one is better to start with because I feel like it's going to be different for each person
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
each instance that they're going through, like whichever one it takes to get that light bulb going off over your head of how to address it. But, some people maybe get it doing some meditation and spirits like, "Ha you ready to deal with this?" Or, going through therapy and, or something showing up in the body. And if it's not a genetic thing, where's this coming from? How did you get here? What's causing it? It can be all of the above. And I got here from all of the above.
Right.
And I think I've done pretty okay with it.
Yeah. You're pretty good at it. Yeah, you're pretty successful, Paul, I would say, right?
I mean, I'm not in jail. I'm not,
We
tucked
can't
away
go to jail. We have
somewhere,
DNA all over the freaking globe. We're not getting away with anything. None of
right. I don't have a record, so I
it.
think I've done pretty good with it. Um,
I
you
mean,
know,
I'm a massage therapist who I no longer see. For no, I mean, she moved, but that's really how I got thrown into the energy thing. Like I always knew I could see things, feel things. I knew things were different. Wasn't getting anywhere medically, and I went for a massage with this lady, and she stopped working on me like 20 minutes in the massage, and she's like, "I can't touch you. I can't work with you." I was like, "What?" Like I was like, "What do you mean?" And I like almost started crying, but I was also upset because I went to her once before, and it was like a whole great experience. Blah blah blah. So I go back to her for this hour and a half massage, and she is like 20 minutes, and she's like, "Nope, can't touch you." And she's like, "Get up, get dressed." I was like, "What?" Like I was just so like I didn't know how to handle it. And she's like, "Just get up, get dressed. I'll be in and talking to you." And I'm like, I felt like I was in trouble. But then I realized that she talked to me after starting to do this stuff. I was like, oh, now I get where she was coming from. And so she's like, "I don't ever tell people this. I'm an energy healer. I'm Reiki certified. I'm also a medium. I'm very strongly being told that I cannot touch you. I cannot help you because you have to heal other people so you can heal yourself. And I'm not allowed to be part of that. I just have to tell you that this is what you have to do." And I was like, "Well, what does that mean? Do I take classes? Like, what am I supposed to do with this?" Like, I know I hear and see dead people. Like, I don't know. I know I pick up people's medical information, that kind of thing. But like, I didn't know the gravity of it. And she was just like, she wouldn't even return my phone calls until I finally told her, like, I was doing this, then this. And she's like, "Oh, okay, I'm so glad to hear you're finally like making the steps you needed." I was like, seriously? Like, she was such a nice person, but she was actually being guided to not even talk to me, to not help me with any, like, she gave me the information I needed. And I was almost trying to use her as a crutch to like guide me. And she's like, "I can't. They're telling me you have to figure this all out and you have to trust yourself. You have all this within you. They've been waiting for you to acknowledge this. That's why you keep getting sicker and sicker." And like this whole thing. And I was just like, oh, okay. And now it all makes sense.
I went through the same thing. I went to seek out a reader, because I didn't understand what was going on with me. I didn't understand. I knew something needed to change. Now, when I was little, I've always been fascinated with the monks. It would be a nice vacation for me to just spend a couple of days around the monks. And I also I've also been like really interested with faith healers. I said, how can you do that? I go, that's so cool. So I went to, and I have gone to one reader, and she said, she go, you know what? I can't do readings on you. You are all I can tell you is that you are a natural born healer, and you need to find out your way. I can't tell you how to do this. I can sit here and teach you about healing, energy, and what, but this is not my plateau. This is not. So you need to go. So I said, okay, she's done. I'm not going to see her again. So I went to another one, and same, almost the same message. And no, I need a direction. I need to know where to go. So I went to a Reiki master, and she's talking to me the whole entire time, and I said, look, I need some healing. I don't know what's going on with me. She said, I would love to do a healing on you. She's giving me my money back. She go, but I can't touch you. You are a natural born healer. You need to find your way. And I was so disappointed. I really wanted answers. I'm the white kid. Give me answers that I will do.
Well, see,
But
I tried to do Reiki certification, and they're like, "No, we're not working with you. You're beyond this. You have to do this." I was like, "Well, I just want to learn. Like, why can't I just learn? Like, I just want to sit here and like kind of observe it." And they're like, "No, go away." And it was like multiple Reiki masters that were just like, "No, sorry, too bad." And I was like, "Okay, well, here we go." But usually, once you listen, everything gets worked out. But it's just kind of nuts how that happens.
yeah.
That's where
But that was really disappointing. I was like, these people don't want to help me. They don't really want to help me.
It's like go through like everything else, and then you're like reaching out to this alternative source, and they're like, "Oh no, go do this," and it's like, "Okay, now I forgive you all. I'm sorry, I get it."
But see, that's where I disagree, because it's like, if they know the fact that they are not helping or giving guide, right? Like, and then to say I'm being guided to not help you. And I'm like, that is so contradictory in
Right.
of itself. You have a person right here in front of you that needs some sort of help or healing, and you're saying, I can't do it because I'm being guided to.
Right.
And that's
You
where I have
should,
issue with that.
right. You
Um,
should be able to help them open up those channels and become more comfortable with it, like to let them know, or to be like, you should start here, or your place is to work with guides, your place is to work with angels. Like, there's definitely ways that people should go about that, not just like hanging you out to dry, because that kind of sucks, and you feel like you're more abandoned when you're already going through a situation where you feel abandoned and neglected anyway. So it just adds to that like whole insecurity and makes you start off in a lower place. But that's one of the things I definitely, so kind of like how the healing journey has changed what we do, right? Like there was a question about that earlier. I didn't really think about that part, but when I work with people, whether it's somebody that's meant to be a healer or somebody that's just coming to healing, that's definitely one of those things, is not making them feel unheard, but also like maybe somebody's meant to work with fairies, maybe they're supposed to work with angels or guides or just ancestors or deities. Like, people are meant to have different things, and it's okay to at least give them a place to start, because we all wish we had a place to start and knew what to do, not just got thrown into the wolf like, hey, good luck out there. Hence the wolf too. But so I mean, I think just taking that time, even if it's more of a reading than a healing, and just saying, hey, this is what's meant for you. Work with natives, work with, I don't know, ancient Egyptians, work with, spell work, whatever is meant for that person, to figure out, help them at least find their source that they're supposed to tap into to get themselves started.
yeah. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
even feel like that was a sink or swim teaching moment. I felt like both of those were just complete sink,
Yeah.
and
It
that's
makes you feel like something's wrong with you. It really does. It's hard not to feel that when you've been through so much, and then like you go to somebody like that and they're just like, can't help you.
Yeah.
But good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, I will
And
admit,
like in Kayla brought it up, and also probably Melissa too. So whenever I see a client and I know that, I have this intuitive, like I know there are healers, or there are, proficient readers, but you just don't have like, I have several clients, they're looking into tarot, and I'm looking at them, and I said, no, you're very empathic. You feel energy around you. Yes, I do. I said, when you're not, when you walk into someplace, you need to turn around and leave. She go, yes. And I said, I would explore that and explore the oracles, because oracles they're not a standard. Or I have come across clients, who's looking at oracles, and they said, what would you think? And I said, you're like structure. I go, maybe you need to start with the tarots, So I give them a little bit of guidance on what to look into. Because I know how it feels when somebody said, no, I can't help you.
Right. It sucks. It really does. And anybody that knows me knows I don't work with tarot at all. Like, I have a tarot deck here. It's actually a Native American tarot deck. I do have some oracle cards, but me and tarot are just like not a thing. Like, I'm usually, I don't mean this egotistical way, but if I like set my mind to learning something and doing something, even if it's just to learn it and not actually use it, I'm pretty good at that. Tarot and me are just like, I get those cards and I'm like, eh. Like, they just don't like appeal to me. I love them that they're native. I do a lot of native work, right? All this stuff. I pull them out every once in a while, more for myself, just to do like a little bit of stuff like when I really feel called by them. But for the most part, I have my runes and oracle cards and different things that I do are just self, right? Whatever comes through. But like you said, some things are just not meant for people. And I have people that come to me and they ask specifically for tarot readings, and I'm like, nope, but here's some people that will do that for you, because it's like, I'll work with you as the way I work, but which I'm more than happy to do. But if you specifically only want a tarot card reading, I am totally not your person, not at all. Not gonna fake it, not gonna try, not gonna pretend to, not gonna like waste your time. Like, there's other people.
Yeah, I think we got through all of the questions that were kind of set to ask. Thank you guys for joining us. Please make sure you join us next Tuesday for the next episode of the Healer's Corner, and we hope you guys have a good night.
And we'll see some.
Bye.
Good night.